August 11th meeting of the City of Tampa Variance Review Board. From my left, the members of the board are
David Farrell, Brett Feldman,
Dustin Pastor.
Susan Long.
Sam Walker.
Also in attendance this evening from legal, Ms. Kamaria Pettis-Mackel. From Development Coordination, Ms. Roberta Mead Curry and Mr. Brett Burks. From Natural Resources, Owen Williamson, and from Transportation, Jonathan Scott. There are some procedural rules you need to follow, and due to the COVID-19 pandemic, please adhere to safe social distancing as set within the room, and please maintain wearing facial masks at all times. When your case number and petitioner's name is called, please approach the podium. When you approach the podium, please state your name, address, and if you've been sworn in. The petitioner and/or their agent will have 10 minutes to make a presentation. All other persons and participants wishing to speak will have 3 minutes, and then the petitioner will have an additional 3 minutes for rebuttal if needed. The time periods as stated will be kept by the board. Any information such as pictures or plans that have not been previously submitted as part of your petition and you intend to present at this hearing for consideration in support of your petition must be individually presented and accepted by the board. After acceptance by the board, you must submit the item to staff for it to be entered and made part of the permanent record. The board bases its decisions on competent and substantial evidence which is presented and which meets the criteria required by the city's code of ordinances. The variances granted by the board will only be for what is shown on the site plan and will be in compliance with any terms and conditions stated in the approval by the board. All other city codes will need to be met. If the case is approved, your variance will expire 2 years from the date of decision. If the case is continued, it will be continued to either next month's VRB board agenda or the next available position on an upcoming VRB board agenda. If the case is denied, you may wish to have the variance board's decision reviewed or appealed by City Council. You must file a petition for review of the board's decision within 10 business days of the written decision. You will not be able to pull any permits until after the 10-day review period has passed. Your cooperation in ensuring that this meeting is run smoothly is greatly appreciated. May I move to approve the minutes from July 14th without objection?
I so move.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to ask legal staff to confirm any ex parte communications and conflicts, please.
Good evening, Kamaria Pettis-Mackel from the City Attorney's Office. Can the board please state whether or not they've had any ex parte communications regarding any of the items that are on the agenda?
No.
No one has had any communication? Okay, thank you for the record. And additionally, can any of the board members state whether or not they have any conflicts of interest regarding any of the items that are listed on the agenda?
No.
No one?
None.
Okay, thank you.
With this being said, is there any business regarding the staff agenda that staff would like to address, or any new business regarding the staff that would like to address?
Yes, good evening, Roberta Mead Curry, Planning Design and Development Coordination. We do have the one continuance has officially withdrawn, so VRB case 20-17 has officially withdrawn. Is this on?
Not
No.
really.
How about that? Would you like me to start over? Okay. Again, Roberta Mead Curry, Planning Design and Development Coordination. We do have some agenda items, and I do have some business for the room so that we have a good recording. The continuance is now officially withdrawn. The VRB 20-17 officially has withdrawn, and VRB 20-10 failed to notice, so we are asking that we continue that till September 8th hearing. Also, too, we had a very good recording last month, so please understand, please put your mics as close as possible to you, make sure they're on, give your name before you speak. We're going to ask the public to also be mindful of the microphones. Please stand as close as possible to the microphone. There are 2 podiums, so if you want to go to the next podium if someone else has spoken, staff is here to clean the podium once someone has spoken. But please make sure and be mindful that you speak clearly into the mic, that we were having trouble with our recordings. and picking up all the language that needs to be heard. Also, too, when you step over to the Elmo to make a presentation for the hard copies that you have brought, there is a mic there. Make sure you pull that to you so that we can hear you and we're picking you up and getting a good recording. Again, the staff and board has been very good about doing a roll call vote, and I do want to do a recall on your approval of meeting minutes, because we did not get a roll call vote on who gave the motion for the, and the second. So if we
Okay.
can do your motion for approval of meeting minutes again too, but please be mindful of doing a roll call vote and state your name and how you are voting so we can record it correctly. Thank you.
Could we recall the motion to approve the minutes without objection?
I so
Motion
move. Susan Long, I so move.
Seconded.
Seconded by Mr.
By Brett
Feldman.
Feldman, sorry.
Um,
Seconded by Brett Feldman.
We can take a vote on this?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. All right, at this time, I'd like to ask staff to please conduct a swear-in.
Please, please stand and raise your right arm.
For anybody that has any indication that they may speak,
Do you swear to and affirm that you will tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
okay. At this time, let's address the continuance on case VRB 2010.
No, Kamaria Pettis-Malcolm from the City Attorney's Office. That case, VRB 2010, is not properly before the board. There is no action, there is
Oh.
no motion that has to be filed for that.
Okay, Roberta said otherwise, so bad, Roberta. Let's start then with case VRB 2021, located at 3314 Elizabeth Court. Are you present? Yes? Okay. Staff report, please.
Okay. Again, Roberta Curry, Planning, Design, and Development Coordination. Can you hear me? Testing, testing, yes?
A little bit.
It's not really loud. Okay. All right, VRB 20-21. The address is 3314 Elizabeth Court. Applicant is seeking relief from section 27-156. The applicant is seeking to reduce the front yard along Elizabeth Court from 25 feet to 4 feet, to reduce the front yard along West San Miguel Street South from 25 feet to 1.6 feet. As of Monday, we have stricken the request for section 27-290.6 to allow for the air-conditioned units to remain in the front yard. At this time, the request is not required. Applicant is seeking to remodel and rebuild addition to existing single-family residence. The property is zoned RS60, residential single-family, and the Hillsborough County Property Appraisers documentation was included in your packet. Right-of-way transportation has found it consistent. Natural Resources has found it consistent with conditions, requesting to use lintel foundations and/or construction located near the grand trees. Zoning has found it inconsistent. This is the Natural Resources report. Page 1, page 2. Very hard to read. Again, Natural Resources is here if you have any questions of them. Property Appraisers, page 1. Page 2. Variance map. The property in question is located here, outlined in red. The surrounding properties are RS60. The Elizabeth Court goes along here, along the front, and the apex here, which turns into San Miguel. The front of the property along Elizabeth Court. Looking further along the front. Looking along Elizabeth Court to the west. Looking along Elizabeth Court to the east. Coming to that apex where there's an island. Looking back into the property from the apex. Again, the other side of that apex, turning around to, this is turning into San Miguel Avenue. Looking down San Miguel. Looking east, down San Miguel, south, looking south. Looking across the property from the other front, which is Miguel, San Miguel. Again, another picture from the front. The front where the carport is. Looking basically at the end of the property where the corner joins the neighboring property here. And looking back down San Miguel. Site plan. Again, the existing home is in the darker shaded color. Carport here. This is Elizabeth along here. This is the apex. This is San Miguel. The addition is proposed to be in this area. I have nothing further to add to the record, and the client has noticed properly.
Thank you. No other staff reports? Okay. Then petitioner, please step forward, state your name, address, and whether or not you've been sworn.
Do you intend for me to speak through this mask?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, could I ask for first, before we start my time, a clarification from the staff about why we do not need the variance for the HVAC systems? Simply, we did notice, upon the assistance and the insistence of staff that we do that. And then we do plan, if this variance is approved, to replace those air conditioning systems. And it would seem to me that we would still need that when you remove a non-conforming structure, that you would still need a variance to replace them.
Maria Pettis now from the city attorney's office. That determination, I'll start. Kamaria Pettis Mackle from the city attorney's office. In review of the application that was submitted, the legal department reviewed it. That information regarding the air conditioner is for the zoning department to make a determination regarding that, and it's not for the variance review board to consider that. That's for the zoning department to address that.
Okay, even though that's a code issue regarding setbacks in front?
Again, Kamaria Pettis Mackle from the city attorney's office. That is for the zoning department to address the air conditioner location and not for the variance for the board.
Have they made a determination? Steve Michelini again.
You could address that with staff, sir.
Okay. This property was
Mr. Michelini,
platted-
could you
You wanna
state your
call
address
Eric on
too,
that?
please?
Because-
My address is
Okay.
2407 Sunset Drive.
All right, thank you.
Steve Michelini, I'm the authorized agent for Mark and Jan Gritzmacher,
Okay,
whose residence is 3314 Elizabeth Court.
okay, and you've got 10 minutes to present your case.
First of all, the lot was platted in 1951, and the house was built at about approximately the same time. As the house sits now, it does not comply with setbacks. It is challenged because it has essentially two front yards. It has a front yard on San Miguel, and it has a front yard on Elizabeth Court. And I'll show you this diagram. So you see,
Yeah.
We got it.
Check 1, 2.
There you go.
okay, I'm back on.
All right.
Let me show you this view first. The yellow line that you see that I've highlighted here, those are the setback lines for the existing structure. So it cuts through the house on the south side and a portion of the north side. So one of the requests that we have before you is to vest this corner here, which I've put a red dot there. That's the 1.6 feet. And the 4 feet request for the setback is there. So you can see that because it's a triangular shaped lot, we have some extreme difficulties to deal with. Just as a point of reference, we have an additional 18 feet from the property line to the edge of the curb. So there's plenty of space here so that we're not interfering with view triangles or other people in this particular case. We have some grand trees that we're dealing with, and I'll just show you this very quickly. We have, and then I'll show you the pictures in a second. But we have a 42-foot limb span on this eastern tree, which is a magnificent grand tree, and a 40-foot span on the going to the south. And we have another grand tree where we have a 35-foot limb span over here, 35 feet here, and then we have another tree there that's affecting us. This is the tree that's to the west and on the north side of the property. And you can see this is the 35-foot limb that I was talking about that extends out over the house. There is a view from the west looking east.
Could you move it over a little bit? We can't see the whole thing.
Other way.
Other way.
Oh,
There you go.
There you go. Good.
sorry. This is the view looking to the east from the west side. And this is the tree and the limb spread that's going in this direction. This is the existing carport and one of the third tree that also goes out over the house. And the request is to vest the existing carport. This is a little different angle, again looking east of the existing house. And our proposal to you is to extend the existing walls of this single-family residence to extend it to the west. Another view of the limb spread going out over the house. This is another view of that same tree. This is a close-up of where we plan to have the extension of the walls on this side. The HVAC systems that were withdrawn from this petition sit right in here. This is the current entryway, and we were proposing to straighten that out and extend it forward. Anyway, on the site, we have we have a 42-inch grand oak, a 57-inch grand oak, another 42-inch grand oak, two 35 and 36 grand oaks, all of which affect this property. And then our request to you is for a single-story addition to protect that canopy and to also maintain the separation that's adequate for for the addition. And then we had also requested and agreed with the city staff that we would use lintels and grade beams to protect the root system, and all of the areas around them would be hand excavated. This is a photograph of the 57-inch oak, and it's a twin oak. And you can see it actually touches the roof. And they have to call the city out every time that they touch any of these limbs to have it addressed and have it trimmed. And we have to hire an arborist, obviously, to deal with that. So, basically, we're not affecting any other property owner. We have pushed the requested variances out to the west side where there's a street that runs right across the end down here. We've maintained the setbacks as best we could. The individuals that are requesting this variance, they're trying to remodel and accommodate their home so that it meets their partial disability requirements. The home itself, as it sits, they don't want to give it up, but they also have to change it so that it meets the needs of the residents and not force them to sell, tear down, and move somewhere else. It does meet the intent of the code regarding the hardship and practical difficulties that were not created by them due to the shape of the lot, the fact that it was platted that way in 1951. The home was built around the same time, and the existence of those grand oaks that are confining its buildable footprint. So in order to maintain those
We've got 1 minute left.
those setbacks, in order to maintain those safety measures, I think that we have met the requirements for the code, and we respectfully request your approval.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak on this case? Seeing none, we'll open it up for board questions.
Lynn Hurtak, I have a question about the distance. You talked about traffic, and I can't see on these plans. What is the distance between the new end of construction and the apex, where that street is?
The dimension is in here, but I need a magnifying glass. Well, if you base it on, first of all, that corner there, there's an island that sits right off of that. So there's it's a very short area. I'm guessing, and it looks like it's like, I think that it reads like 50, either 45 or 50 something linear feet.
Okay, thank you.
If you use the side guidelines to the edge of the pavement, which is 18, I guess I can just use my thumb here. It's in excess of 40 feet.
Okay, thank you.
Other board questions? Ms. Curry wants to make a comment?
Go ahead, I'll finish. Doesn't want to bring it back to me.
What'd you say?
Board questions?
Huh?
No? Susan? Okay. All right, Ms. Curry, did you have something to add?
Yes.
Yes, Roberta Mead Curry, Planning Design Development Coordination. I do have clarification on the applicant's request, and I do apologize for the last-minute decision to strike the request for the AC unit setback variance. I was the one who actually counseled the applicant on what he needed to ask for. So I just spoke with my supervisor, Eric Cotton, on the phone, and this is the justification for striking the request. As you see, the request to reduce the front yard setback along San Miguel will be to 1'6". So by that reasoning, we've determined that the request for the AC units located here would be well within the primary setbacks. So granted, if you grant it this evening, would be well within the setbacks for the primary structure for the AC units. So that is why we struck the request from the applicant's variance. Also in clarification, if that is the dimension you're asking for, Ms. Hurtak, it looks like from the property line here to the wall here is 19 and some odd inches, 19.25 feet.
And then another, what, 15 for the setback? From the property line to the curb, can you read that dimension?
My super glasses out here. It looks like 14.2 feet.
Yeah, okay. All right, any other board questions? All right, then you've got 3 minutes for rebuttal.
Is this one on now?
Yes.
Basically, we are site constricted. I mean, we're trying to stay under the canopy of the Grand Oaks to protect them. We have an irregular shaped property. We have an existing building that we're trying to retrofit to accommodate the residents. And I think that we provided sufficient buffer area that includes the right-of-way as well as the green space that we have to protect any other property owner. It would not create any adverse conditions for any of them. It'll be a single story, and so a good portion of this variance is to vest the existing conditions. So we respectfully request your approval.
All right. Well, then we will close the public hearing and open it up for a motion or board discussion.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Feldman?
I would move to approve that the variance request for case VRB 20-21 for property located at 3314 Elizabeth Court be granted as depicted on the site plan presented at the public hearing, to reduce the front yard along Elizabeth Court from 25 feet to 4 feet, to reduce the front yard along West San Miguel Street south from 25 feet to 1.6 feet, pursuant to Section 27-156, with an encroachment for eaves and gutters, and based upon the site plan presented at the public hearing, and based upon the applicant presenting competent and substantial evidence in the record and at the public hearing of an unnecessary hardship or practical difficulty when considering the 5 hardship criteria set forth in Section 27-80 of the City Code, specifically that the property, the home as it exists was built in 1951, that it doesn't meet the setbacks as it currently sits, that the majority of this request is to vest the existing home, that the property is in an irregular triangle corner lot with 2 front yards, that there are multiple grand trees, and that the applicant is building single-story in an effort to protect the trees and the canopy, and that there is an additional 18 feet from the property line to the curb that helps to mitigate these issues.
I'll second that motion.
And if you
Dave.
that's not from the city attorney's office, can you just state for the record who seconded the motion?
David Farrell, second.
Thank you.
Susan Long, second.
All right, there's a motion on the floor. Let's start the voting from the right this time. Ms. Walker?
Samantha Walker, aye.
See, I can't hear.
What's your vote? The vote?
Just say your name and your vote, Susan.
Okay, Susan Long, aye.
Lynn Hurtak, aye.
Dustin Pastor, aye.
Brett Feldman, aye.
David Farrell, aye.
All right, your motion's been approved, 6-0.
Thank you very much, Board, and also thank you for meeting in this format. I know it's a little unusual, but, you know, the applicants do appreciate that you're going to this length to assist us in these difficult times. So thank you again.
Thank you, Mr. McElhaney. Our next case is VRB 2030, located at 5015 South Shore Crest Circle. Are you present? Yes, all right. Ms. Curry?
Roberta Mead Curry, Planning, Design, and Development Coordination, case number VRB 20-30, address 5015 South Shore Crest Circle. The applicant is seeking relief from Section 27-156 to reduce the side yard setbacks from 7 feet to 4 feet. Applicant is seeking to build second-story storage area above existing footprint of attached porte-cochere. Previously granted a variance per BOA, Board of Adjustment 1991-167, to reduce the side yard from 7 feet to 4 feet and the north side yard from 7 feet to 2.5 feet. Again, this was granted in 1991. The variance was not executed, nor was the variance deemed substantially complete. And again, the request this evening is for both side yards to be reduced to 4 feet. The property is zoned RS75, residential single family. The Hillsborough County Property Appraiser's information is included in your reference package. Right-of-way has found it consistent. It does not trigger landscape and tree code from natural resources, and zoning has found it inconsistent. This is the historical variance, again, BOA 91-167. Natural Resources Report. Page 1, Hillsborough County Property Appraisers information. Page 2. Variance map. Again, property in question is here. All surrounding property is RS75. This is body of water here. And Shorecrest is along here. It's the front of the property. Again, at the front. This is the side of the property where the existing porte cochere and the addition would be above this structure. Close up of that structure. Looking down the street, northeast direction. Southwest direction. Try to orient it the same way. Again, property as it exists today. You have Shorecrest here, existing home, pool, and then this is the porte cochere here. The applicant has noticed correctly, and I have nothing else to add to the record.
Okay. Petitioner, please come forward. Please state your name, address, and if you've been sworn.
Hi, James Hatton, 5015 Shorecrest Circle, Tampa.
And have you been sworn in?
Sorry?
Have you been sworn in?
Yes.
Okay. You've got 10 minutes to present your case.
Great. Okay. So I'll try to be brief, but in 1991, I came before this board and I acquired a historical home. It's like the second house built in Beach Park, and a total historical renovation was done, both interior and exterior, and now we've done it again. And so we've, in the process, I was granted a variance on the side of the home, there's a 7-foot setback, and so we added a porte cochere, a drive-through side entry. So our intentions now are to just put a storage area, giant closet, so to speak, over it. And so it really doesn't interfere with, doesn't encroach any further. It actually is, the corners of the new structure are actually a few inches back farther. So the structure itself will be just like the home that was built in 1920. From the exterior, the windows, everything, all of the tiles will be removed and replaced and just brought up another 10 feet. And I don't know if you have any illustrations on it, but I have handouts that I can show you. But it's a pretty simple addition, and we request that you review that.
Could you put the images on the screen for us there with the projector?
Okay, so.
There.
There you go. That's good.
Okay, so this is the existing home, and here you have the existing porte cochere, and this addition is basically just going up another 10 feet and have the sight lines in line with the roof lines that are existing. The windows are produced now. We've since replaced the windows, and they're all impact windows, but they're reduced. They have the same buttons and what have you that were produced in the house in the 1920s. I also have a plan of where it is, and the current variance that we got in 91 remains the same. Again, there's really no overlap, no encroachment. It's just a vertical structure addition. And then when you look at this, to demonstrate that, I basically have a document here that kind of shows that. It's a pretty straightforward request.
Okay. Does that conclude your presentation?
Thank you.
Okay. Is there anybody in the audience that wishes to speak on this case? Seeing none, we'll open it up to board questions. And I've got a question for Ms. Curry. Is this just a height issue because the porte cochere would be part of the primary setbacks already, right?
Roberta Mead Curry, Planning, Design, Development Coordination. Because the porte cochere is attached to the home, and this is not an area where we're allowing the carport to sit closer, it must meet the primary setbacks at 7 feet. So that is why he's in for the variance, and because his previous variance was not substantially complete or acted upon.
Okay.
We're here again to grant him the same request on the one side with the porte cochere, and basically to vest what he has on the other side at 4 feet as well.
But the porte cochere is already there, right? So we're vesting that.
You're correct, but you're now going up. So his original request was only the porte cochere 1 story,
Uh-huh.
and so now he's going up to the 2nd story.
Okay. Thank you. Are there any board questions?
Yeah. So, hi, Samantha Walker. So one of the things that we look at when we determine whether the hardship criteria has been met is whether it complies with the general city plan. Can you speak a little bit as to whether other homes in the neighborhood have had similar, I guess, renovations, and explain a little bit how this will fit in with the neighborhood design?
Yeah, there are several homes within a 200-foot radius that are of the same vintage. In fact, the adjacent home, which was built by the same builder, has a 2-car garage and a dormer above it, a living center above it. So, and that currently exists, and that house was renovated a couple years after we did ours, and they did that addition onto it. So it's pretty typical in that area. This is sort of a very large lot, and it's a pie shape. So it's only one little corner that encroaches the current variance, that the request that we had in 91. And then beyond that, it starts to veer off, and it's 12 and 14 feet after that. And the height, from a height standpoint, it's at the same height that it's sort of a parapet roof with like Ludovici tiles on it. So it's at the same height of the existing roof, and then the actual roof is down maybe 2 feet from there. You know.
That's it. Thank you.
Okay.
Any other board questions? Okay, you've got 3 minutes for rebuttal if you want it.
No, I don't have any rebuttal. No, thank you.
Okay. Well then, without objection, we'll close the public hearing for motion or board discussion.
May I make just one comment, excuse me?
Sure.
About this house as the builder on the board. This one might warrant a little bit of special consideration in the fact that it is one of the original Beach Park homes. And I think that we should probably give some magnitude, a lot of magnitude, to the fact that Della Costa, who ran the city's historic preservation department for decades, thought that it was appropriate to grant such an addition to such a valuable historical structure. And in addressing Mr. Hatton's point about the pie-shaped lot, I would imagine if that lot were rectangular in shape and not pie-shaped, that if you had straightened those sides out, that you would clearly have met what would have been, normal approved setbacks. So,
All right, thank you.
Kamaria Pettis-Mackel from the City Attorney's Office. Since the board member has made a comment, I'd like to ask if we could make a motion to reopen the meeting in case the applicant would like to rebut at all anything that was just said.
Okay. Make a motion to reopen the public hearing.
I'll second that.
And that was board member Susan Long who seconded it.
Susan Long, yep, sorry.
Is there anything you'd like to say or any rebuttal necessary for the comments you just heard?
No, but to comment on Mr. Farrell.
Yes, sir.
This is H.L. Culbert's old house.
Yes, sir.
And, before he died, I took him
Right.
in to show him the house, and in 1921, 22, it was a pretty grand old house.
Yes, sir.
And it's a knockoff. I mean, the original
Right.
floors, everything. So it's a pretty special place. And I agree, the lots, the way they divided lots at that time, they just said, how many feet do you want? And they drew a straight line, and you ended up with that property. So the rectangular lots, 4 or 5 houses down, start at that point. But I actually have 10 feet of the lot that's next to it. That's just the way they did the division at that time.
Okay. Thank you. You have any further comments?
No comments, thank you.
Okay. And without objection, we'll close the public hearing and back to motion or board discussion.
It's all right, I'll make a motion.
Go for it.
Brett Feldman. I move that the variance request for case VRB 20-30 for property located at 5015 South Shorecrest Circle be granted as depicted on the site plan presented at the public hearing to reduce the side yard setback from 7 feet to 4 feet to build a second-story storage area above the existing footprint of the attached porte-cochere, with the encroachment of eaves and gutters based upon the applicant presenting competent and substantial evidence in the record and at this public hearing of an unnecessary hardship or practical difficulty when considering the 5 hardship criteria set forth in section 27-80 of the City Code, specifically that the applicant's property is a pie-shaped lot, that the encroachment is minimal, that the new construction sits within the existing setbacks of the current home as it is currently built, and that the applicant is attempting to preserve the historic nature of the structure.
I'll second that. Susan Long.
All right, we've got a motion on the floor, and we'll start the voting with Ms. Walker.
Sam Walker, aye.
Susan Long, aye.
Lynn Hurtak, aye.
Dustin Pastor, aye.
Brett Feldman, aye.
David Farrell, aye.
All right, your motion has been approved, 6-0.
Great, thanks so much.
Congratulations. All right. The next case is VRB 2040, located at 4612 East Broadway Avenue. Are you present? Yes. All right. Ms. Curry?
Roberta Mead Curry, Planning, Design, and Development Coordination, case number VRB 20-40. The address is 4612 East Broadway Avenue. The applicant is seeking relief from section 27-290 to allow barbed wire above existing chain link fencing to remain. Applicant is seeking to maintain existing barbed wire above existing chain link fencing for the degree of security for the property and the businesses located there. Property has received a code violation complaint number CMP-20-0000375. However, the barbed wire fencing was not cited as part of that complaint. Other items were, so we just want to make sure that that's not an issue for the record. The property is zoned CI and commercial intensive, and the Hillsborough County property information is included in your packet. Right-of-way has found it consistent, and zoning has found it inconsistent. Property appraiser, page 1. Page 2. Variance map, again, the property in question is here in red. This is Broadway along the front here. Side street here is 45th. And CI property here and here, all the way through here. And then there is IG Industrial General through here. This is the front of the property. Additional view of the front. Looking down Broadway. Opposite direction down Broadway. Looking at the rear of the building, coming down that side street, again, you see the existing chain link fence and the existing barbed wire. Further looking down that side street, again, this is the fence of the property here. Close up. Site plan, again, existing structure, side street, 47, East Broadway, and then basically an open yard here, and the fencing goes here. This is a document the applicant wanted to have entered. This is when she had the fencing installed, and you can see the date on the invoice is 2013. In your packet, you received police reports from the applicant. And that was a month-to-month review, which was a much comprehensive report. However, due to not making 15 reports of a 250-page police report, I do have to enter into the record tonight the full 2-year report of all the police calls. If you would like to look at that, I will bring it forward, but I would like to enter into the record. It is 250 pages, and it's 2 years of security calls made within that area. And I have nothing further to add to the record at this time, and the applicant has noticed properly.
Okay, do we know why, if it wasn't on the code violation report, how it even got to us?
Kamaria Pettis-Mackel from the City Attorney's Office. The information regarding the code case, it's separate from the variance requests, and it's not before the board for consideration, so.
So we don't know how it got here?
Well, I'm sure Ms. Mead can further comment, but I mean, what's going on with the code case is separate from the variance board.
Okay. Odd. Petitioner, please step forward and present your case. Please give us your name, address, and whether or not you've been sworn.
Yes, my name is Helene Miller, and this is about 4612 East Broadway Avenue, and yes, I have been sworn.
Okay.
When we're talking about between the code violation for the other problem and the chain link, I don't want that as part of the variance because we're cleaning the property.
The
basically.
only thing we're here to talk about is the barbed wire.
That is correct. Presently, the barbed wire is only on the north side of the property, which has a 5-foot alleyway, and on the east side of the property. Okay, the south side of the property is the building, and between the two properties on the west side, there's no barbed wire. It's only where people have been hopping over the fence to steal whatever's back there. And we need to protect the property. It's rental, and we've got to protect the property for the owners. You know, it's for everybody's best interest, and today's security with riots and everything, it's in a very bad area. So I think it's pretty self-explanatory.
Are you familiar with the 5 criteria that we're supposed to use to make our decision? It would have been a part of your application for this case?
I'm not exactly sure, sir.
There's 5 criteria. That's exclusively what we use to make a determination. And so, you know, it would be in your interest to address those so that we can because, just saying it's self-explanatory.
Well, it's for security reasons. Prior tenants have had problems with people hopping over the fence and stealing car parts. We're just trying to maintain the security, and we had to add a light on the property because the Tico light that was on the corner was always out. So we have Tico put a private light on the property to, for security reasons. There's been no injuries, there's been no problems with the barbed wire, and like I said, it's not in between the properties. There's a property on the west side. It's just a regular chain link fence. So there's nobody's had any reports of problems or injuries. So I guess I didn't know exactly the 5 points.
Okay.
Hold on, may I have Kamaria Pettis-Mackel from the City Attorney's Office? May I just have one moment, please? So I'm referring, Kamaria Pettis-Mackel from the City Attorney's Office. I'm referring to Code Section 27-290.1, which is titled Fence and Wall Regulations. And in that code section specifically related to variances for fences, the standards for review, the Variance Review Board, it states in subsection B, the Variance Review Board, hold on one second, I'm sorry. I just had it, computer. And it states in the code, the standards are what's required for the applicant in order to meet the request. The applicant must demonstrate a practical difficulty or unnecessary hardship when the purposes of this code section, for the purpose of this code section, only can be satisfied by showing a significant security need. And that's the standard that the board has to analyze when determining the approval or disapproval of this variance. And that's in the code.
Okay, great. Restart the timer. Is there anything else you'd like to say?
No, thank you. I just would like to keep our property protected for the people that rent from us, and we can continue to pay the taxes on the property.
Okay. Is there anybody in the audience that wishes to speak on this case? Seeing none, open it up for board questions.
I have a question.
Ms. Long?
Susan Long, are you a notary?
Yes, I am.
Are you the notary that notarized all these
No,
documents?
I did not notarize my signature. I notarized my cousin, which I am allowed to notarize my cousin's signatures. Adele and Barry are the only two I notarized. The rest I went to Darla for my signature, and my mother was at Bank of America in Cocoa Beach, Florida.
But I'm looking at these documents and they're virtually all notarized by you. There's one that isn't.
Only Adele Goldsmith and Barry Kleinbaum, the documents with their names on it, I notarized, yes.
Okay. I didn't know you were allowed to notarize something where you're a party to the action that's being notarized. For instance, you say Helene Miller has the authority to act as landlord and enter a lease agreement on behalf of the owners of the properties, blah, 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 and it's signed by Adele Goldsmith, and you notarized it, but you're the party that they're talking about. I didn't know you were allowed to do that.
I was notarizing their signature.
I understand that. Okay, I have no other questions.
Okay,
I
Uh,
have a question.
go ahead.
So the city code, as legal counsel advised us, say that we can look to the security need. Can you speak just a little bit about when the barbed wire fence was installed?
The barbed wire.
And then I guess maybe the reason that the barbed wire fence was installed?
It was installed, prior to the guy that's here, we've had a couple of tenants that stored vehicles and tow truck companies, and they were reporting to me and having problems with people hopping over the fence, whether it's from 47th or the alley, and stealing parts off of the cars.
So would you,
And we've had, and so we had to address that security, but the fence company really didn't indicate that that was not allowed. I just assumed that, you know, I didn't know. I hired a company and they installed the fence. I mean,
okay. And ultimately, would you say that the barbed wire fence was the extreme last result?
that and the security light that we added onto the property.
Did you bring any records of any police calls or police reports from the past
She had the 250-page
No,
document.
for your property?
For that?
Yes.
Not for the existing property. I mean, I know the current tenant has had many. He's called at least 4 or 5 times. But prior tenants, I can't find that information. Their Aprila or whatever, the police reporting system only goes back 1 year. And when you contact the police department, you know, they can only give you a grid. So I did, you know, I went through the past year and did screen captures of the 400 and something incidents for the last year that I could capture. But I know he had at least, he said, a half a dozen calls in the 4 years he's been there.
So he's been there 4 years, and the fence went in 2013, it looks like, from that receipt?
Yes.
So are you saying that the fence is not helping with the crime?
Well, his problem was he's called, it wasn't that somebody hopped over the fence, it was somebody, they run into the, excuse me, there's a tractor trailer company next door. They ripped off the awning off the front of the building, and there was other issues with people parking, blocking his entrance, and it wasn't really theft or security in that way, but his calls were mainly of incidents involving him not being able to get in and out of his property or damaging whatever the...
Okay, so not really security issues then?
No.
Okay. The reason I ask is we see barbed wire cases from time to time, and they are almost always accompanied by a list of police calls on that property that span years, so there must be some way to get a report like that. So, you know, you're saying that you have these calls that were occurring, but we don't have a record of that. And the ones we just discussed aren't really security issues. We're discussing a security fence. So I was just asking if you had any type of proof on your property that you were having security issues before you installed this fence, and it sounds like you weren't able to obtain records of that.
It's very hard at this time to obtain records. I'm calling people, it's very hard to get, you know, return phone calls. And when you do, you know, weeks have passed. And I tried the best I can with the resources and everything that, you know, a lot of places are skeleton crew.
Okay.
I tried what I could.
Are there any other board questions?
Just one.
Mr. Feldman?
Can you, you mentioned the tenant. Did you say what the tenant does?
He cleans out properties. So he's hauling, you know, furniture or whatever from, you know, apartments or condos, and he takes it and he brings it to his place and he sorts it. But in the meantime, you know, I mean, he needs his stuff secure as well. So, you know, I'm trying to, I mean, it's never been a security issue with the barbed wire on the fence. Nobody's complained any injuries, and it's really protecting him with that, and we pay $2 a month for a security light, you know, from Tico. So, you know, between those two things, it is helping.
Okay. Any other questions? Ms. Long?
Susan Long. How many of your neighbors have chain link, other businesses in that area have barbed wire on top of their chain link?
There is across the street, there's industrial, and I'm not sure if the tractor truck company has it, but there's many industrial buildings across the way that do have chain link. It's a very industrial area,
But they have barbed wire, right?
yes.
Because
I
I'm
know
looking,
across the street they do, in the big, long industrial, I don't even know what it is, but it's a,
okay, thank you.
Question for staff. Brett Feldman, question for staff. Is it zoned industrial across the street? Do you know
Correct.
that?
Yes, it is.
Oh, it is, okay. All right, thank you.
Are there any more board questions? Okay, you've got 3 minutes for rebuttal if you'd like.
I just hope you guys, you know, are lenient with me and help us, you know, keep security on the property. I don't know what more to say.
Okay. Then without objection, we will close the public hearing and open it for motion or board discussion.
So I'm going to make a motion, and I think my motion will explain where I'm going with this. I would move that the variance request for case VRB-20-40 for property located at 4612 East Broadway Avenue be granted as depicted on the site plan presented at the public hearing to allow the barbed wire above the existing chain link fence to remain pursuant to section 27-290 of the city code, based upon the applicant presenting competent and substantial evidence in the record and at this public hearing of an unnecessary hardship or practical difficulty when considering the 5 hardship criteria set forth in section 27-80 of the city code. Specifically, that we have industrial zoning directly across the street, that barbed wire would be permissible in an industrial zone, and that as this is just across the street from the industrial zoning, and the applicant has presented competent and substantial evidence of significant, long-standing police activity and calls to this area, that under those circumstances, the barbed wire should be permissible.
Second.
Second, Mr. Farrell.
Can I make an amendment to that motion?
Yeah.
So the code also requires us to determine that the use of the barbed wire is an extreme last resort for the protection of the property. I think that we should, I guess, amend our approval to note that we have so determined.
This is Brett Feldman. I will accept that amendment to the proposed motion.
Okay, Ms. Walker.
And I accept the second.
Sam Walker, aye.
Susan.
Susan Long, aye.
Lynn Hurtak, aye.
Dustin Pastor, aye.
Brett Feldman, aye.
David Farrell, aye.
Your motion's been approved, 6-0. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We will move on to case VRB 2041, located at 401 West Francis Avenue. Are you present? Yes. Yes. Okay. Ms. Curry?
Roberta Mead Curry, Planning Design Development Coordination. Case number VRB 20-41. The address is 401 West Francis Avenue. The applicant is seeking relief from section 27-156 to reduce the rear yard setback from 15 feet to 3 feet. Applicant is seeking to build new 2-story detached structure with a 1.5 car garage on the first level and the second level having a dwelling unit. The property is zoned RM16, residential multifamily. The Hillsborough County Property Appraiser's information is included in your packet. Right-of-way has found it consistent. Natural Resources has found it consistent with conditions. Transportation has found it inconsistent. However, the applicant does have a revised site plan they're going to issue this evening where Transportation has found it consistent. Zoning has found it inconsistent. Transportation report, again, that's the previous report, but again, and based on the previous site plan submitted. And Jonathan Scott is here this evening if you have questions of him. Natural Resources report. It just doesn't pick it up. Again, Natural Resources is here if you have questions of them. Property Appraisers, page 1.
That's not the property.
Property Appraiser, page 2. And let me clarify for just a moment. That's the wrong page. Not the right page. Okay, wrong Property Appraisers page. Apologize. Variance map. So property is located here in red. Surrounding property is RM16. We have an RM24 here. Another RM24 in this location. CG in this area. Francis Street is along here. Massachusetts runs north-south. The property has enough square footage for a second unit. It is, again, zoned RM16, and so there is enough square footage to have 2 dwelling units. The reason they're asking for the variance is that that second dwelling unit must meet primary setbacks for RM16, and that's why they're here tonight. This is the front of the property with the existing structure. View from Massachusetts along the side. Looking west down Francis. This is looking at the corner, looking down Massachusetts. Down Massachusetts. Again, this is the property in question, and looking down Massachusetts. This is the rear yard location where that structure is proposed to sit, and the existing driveway coming in here, which will be repaired and replaced. Site plan of existing property. This is the proposed. Again, primary structure here and the addition, second dwelling unit with a garage below. Floor plan. Elevations. The applicant has noticed properly, and I have nothing further to add to the record.
Okay. Petitioner, please step forward, give us your name, address, and if you've been sworn.
Garrett Gilkey, I'm the applicant on behalf of Carolyn Jones. 401 was Francis, and I have been sworn in.
All right, thank you. You've got 10 minutes.
Thank you for your time this evening. Today in question, we have a consideration for a reduction in the rear setback for a additional living space, additional dwelling unit. In developing the site plan and considering the scale and location for the additional living space, we ran into a few different constraints that disafforded us the opportunity to stay within the 15-foot setback communicated here by this dotted line. Adjacent to, on the Massachusetts side, towards the northern end of the property, we do have a series of oaks that would pose and present challenges for us as the depiction of an accessory structure or the additional dwelling space within the 15-foot setbacks would cause us to have to remove this 25-inch oak. In addition to the hardship here communicated by the pre-existing oak tree, we also want to stay in line with the historic nature of the area. While this is not an ARC or a historic overlay or district, our client has the desire to stay within the parameters that keep the site of historic presentation. Having the additional living space within that 15-foot setback communicates a egregious and more so daunting presentation of the property. And so having a reduction of 3 feet, having the reduction from 15 feet to 3 feet gives us a better proportion to scale and to just general site configuration. Some of the other constraints that we have here with the placement of the accessory structure is the desire to maintain a yard. If we had the accessory structure within the 15-foot setback, we would be omitting a yard space for our client. This affords us the ability in reducing the setback to 3 feet to maintain a yard for our client. In addition to that, this district in Tampa Heights is still a transition neighborhood, and so there still is a risk as it relates to trespassing and general safety concerns. Having the structure pushed back towards the northern side of the property line affords the client the ability to maintain safety and maintain just a general control of the perimeter of her yard. As you can see by the site plan, we have a need being the zoning, we have a need for 4 parking spaces. And so our updated site plan communicates a parking space on the northwest corner of the property. We have 2 spaces for parking on the Massachusetts northeast side, and then we have a space for parking inside the structure. One of the other constraints that we would like to, forcing us and encouraging us to reduce the setback is the historic of nature presentation and the historic of nature ribbon driveway. In moving or having the accessory structure any further into the yard, not only would we be disturbing an already in pre-existing historic granite curb, we would be removing and omitting the already pre-existing nature of this driveway. So we're also staying in line with pre-existing historic aspects of this site. That's it.
Does that conclude your presentation?
Yes.
Does anybody in the audience wish to speak on this case? Is that a yes? Okay. Please come forward. You might be. Please state your name, address, and if you've been sworn, please.
My name is Justin Rickey. My address is 103 East 26th Avenue, Tampa, Florida, and I've been sworn in.
Okay, you've got 3 minutes.
Thank you. I'm here to support Mr. Gilkey and his project. I was the former president of the Tampa Heights Civic Association. I served on the board for several years with the Civic Association. Mr. Gilkey has contributed to our neighborhood greatly with his projects. He's done wonderful work. I think as my profession, which I work as a realtor, I get to see lots of builders and renovations. Some are good, some are not so good. Mr. Gilkey happens to be of the ilk that is exceptional. He puts pride and a lot of effort and time and energy into his projects, and I can't say how much, as a neighborhood, we appreciate that. In regards to the accessory dwelling unit in Tampa Heights, we're an urban village. It promotes density. This is one of the few areas in Tampa Heights which is south of Columbus. If you're familiar with Tampa Heights, you know that most of the RM is south of Columbus. So for us, this promotes density. Density promotes basically the very tenets of an urban village, which is walkability, transportation, et cetera. So I just want to come out as a private resident and support this project and say thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that wishes to speak on this case? Seeing none, are there board questions?
Yes, I have a question. Lynn Hertak. Do you have any pictures of the tree that could impact where this goes? Aren't great. No, I mean from the actual lot itself to see where the limbs are going, because I can't really tell. You say it will impact, but I can't see that.
Garrett Gilkey. So the tree canopy will not be affected. It is the location of needs associated with transportation and parking that would affect the setbacks associated to those trees. As if we were to, again, see a few different constraints here, but if access was from Massachusetts, this oak here would have to be removed to accommodate the necessary parking.
So you couldn't go into the driveway and turn and then get into the garage? I'm not seeing why you have the structure there for parking.
I mean, I think that we exhausted our efforts as it related to the most efficient means of parking, while also staying within historic presentations of hardscape. And so, I think one thing to point out here is we do have a historic and a pre-existing ribbon communicating that there was an accessory structure here, a dwelling unit here. And so, so there is again, while we are not in a historic district, there are elements to historic preservation that have driven some of the decisions here as it relates to placement. Again, annotating, going back to this too, we have historic in nature granite curbs, which even in Hyde Park are not seen very often. And to come in and to cut these and to communicate an additional ribbon, I think kind of expels us from the very preservation nature that we're, while not being a historic district, chasing after.
And excuse me. Mr. Farrell?
Just to kind of frame what the applicant was saying, were this in a historic district such as Hyde Park or Seminole Heights, the position of that building is exactly where the secondary structure would typically have been. When you go into Hyde Park, they sit 3 feet off of the rear yard setback. They were typically carriage houses. They remain, I don't, what's the square footage on this one?
The square footage of this one, I believe, is 600 and, I'm sorry. 547 square feet heated above garage.
Above ground, so there's another 400. So it fits right into the typical historical parameters of what a carriage house in redevelopment in neighborhoods like Hyde Park and Seminole Heights would be looking for. So in that regard, they've done everything they can to, I think, position it, we're at one of those vested neighborhoods.
Yes, and Furthermore, I do have some articulations of some additional structures within a 4-block radius. We have 410 West Francis. You can see by this accessory structure, we're actually butted back to 3 foot within the property line. 410 West Francis, you can again see an additional dwelling space here that is up against the property line. 410 West Francis, we have another accessory structure that is on the property line, abutted to the property line. 410 West Francis, accessory structure is against the property line here and also against the back alley. I'm sorry, 407 West Francis, so I'm sorry. It was 317 West Francis. We have 407 West Francis, again, additional dwelling unit here butted against the back of the property. 308 West Amelia, another additional dwelling unit, communicated here along the back alley, as you can see here as well, against the property line. So there's a lot of, just in the immediate 3-block radius, there's a lot of justification as to why I believe that this should be accepted into our community. There's a lot of condo development going on in this community, and I believe that this project, again, while not being in a historic district, is a great solution while redevelopment is taking place to maintain the integrity of a neighborhood. We're not bastardizing the site with this project. I believe that the scale honors that street well and honors the home. Yes.
Are there any more board questions? Mr. Feldman.
I have one. Brett Feldman. Mr. Gilkey, thank you for sharing the other properties, because that answered the first of my questions about other properties that shared a similar condition. The other question I had, can you help me understand the security explanation you provided? Because I'm afraid I'm not following that portion of it. How does the pushing of the structure back to the property line help with the security aspect?
I think that's, to be honest, I think it's further subjective, right? I think if we have the property within the 15-yard setback, that affords us the ability to have those parking spaces on the north side of the property, which allows for vehicles to be parked and placed there, right? So what it does is it eliminates hardscape that can be then, further vandalized. To be clear, that is not my greatest argument here, right? Okay, so I'm not going to die on that sword, but I do think that there is at least some validity to the conversation associated to this still being a transitioning neighborhood that promotes a value in separation.
Fair enough. And are you utilizing some of the existing hardscape with that ribbon and things like that?
Yes. Predominantly as a builder in Hyde Park, my bent towards construction is one of preservation. And so the desire is to maintain the character and the integrity of the current site.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any more questions? Seeing none, you've got 3 minutes for rebuttal if you'd like.
Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you. Without objection, we will close the public hearing and open it up for a motion or board discussion.
I'll make a motion.
All right.
Lynn Hertak. I move that the variance request for case VRB 20-41 for property located at 401 West Francis Avenue be granted as depicted on the site plan presented at the public hearing for a reduce in the rear yard setback from 15 feet to 3 feet to build a new 2-story detached structure with a 1.5-car garage on the first level and a second dwelling unit above, based on the applicant presenting competent and substantial evidence in the record and at this public hearing of an unnecessary hardship or practical difficulty when considering the 5 hardship criteria set forth in section 27-80 of the city code, specifically that there seemed to have been a similar structure there at one point, that the applicant showed substantial evidence that in a 3-block radius, there are multiple secondary structures that abut to the property line. And I think that's it.
Second. And there's a tree.
Oh,
And there's
yes,
tree.
thank you. And there is a tree that they are trying to avoid cutting down.
Second.
And that was Commissioner, that was
David,
Commissioner.
Mr. Farrell.
Thank you.
All right. Ms. Walker?
Sam Walker, aye.
Susan?
Oh, Susan Long, aye.
Lynn Hurtak, aye.
Dustin Pastor, aye.
Brett Feldman, aye.
David Farrell, aye.
Okay, your motion's been approved 6-0. The next case is VRB 2043, located at 202 Blanca Avenue. Are you present? Yes, okay. Ms. Curry?
Roberta Mead Curry, Planning, Design, and Development Coordination, case number VRB 20-43. The address is 202 Blanca Avenue. Applicant is seeking relief from section 27-156 to reduce the north side yard setback from 7 feet to 9 inches, to reduce the rear yard setback from 20 feet to 11 feet. Applicant is seeking to build a 1-story garage to the existing single-family home. The property is zoned RS75, residential single-family, and the Hillsborough County Property Appraiser's information is included in your packet. Right-of-way is found at right-of-way has found it consistent. Natural Resources has stated it does not trigger the landscape and tree code. Transportation has found it consistent. Zoning has found it inconsistent. Property Appraiser's information, page 1. Page 2. Page 3. Variance map. Again, property is surrounded in red, and surrounding properties are RS 75, and it does back into the water, body of water. View looking front. View down Blanca. View down the opposite direction. Existing site plan. Again, Blanca is here, driveway, existing structure. This is the structure that will be torn down and rebuilt. I'll orient you the same way. So again, this is the proposed structure, garage here, open, outdoor kitchen, and the connection to the existing house would be along here. I do have one letter of support that came in today that I will enter into the record. Letter of support is from Derek Alvarez at 200 Blanca Avenue. I have nothing further to add to the record, and the applicant has noticed properly.
Thank you. Please state your name, address, and whether or not you've been sworn.
Yes, Elise Batzel with Stearns Weaver, 401 East Jackson Street, Suite 2100. I have been sworn here on behalf of the applicant. I did want to have one housekeeping matter, if I may, before we start. There was an error in the staff report that indicated that we were demolishing a two-story structure and replacing it with a two-story structure. We're actually demolishing a two-story structure and replacing it with a one-story structure. So I just wanted to make a note of that for the record.
Okay, that is what our agenda shows as well,
Oh,
one
excellent.
story.
Thank you.
And you've got 10 minutes to present your case.
As Roberta indicated, this property is located at 202 Blanca Avenue on Davis Islands. The property was originally platted in 1925 as part of the Davis Islands, the hotel section. It is a single-family residence with a detached accessory structure, which also was constructed in 1925. The property is currently zoned RS 75 with minimum lot requirements of 75 by 100. It is a pie-shaped lot with a curved linear frontage of 51 feet. The lot is non-conforming to the RS 75's frontage standards. It is 178 feet deep, and the existing principal structure is set back approximately 80 feet due to the narrowing front of the lot. This is just a bird's eye view of the property. Looking towards the water here, you can see that the accessory structure exists here, but actually extends all the way out towards the property line. Here you can see it from the water side. The water is here, just to give you an orientation. I'm a very visual person, so you can see overlaid on the proposed structure. The yellow is the location of the existing structure. And here the green is the location of the proposed structure. Again, we're going from 2 stories to 1 story with this replacement structure. This is really important because you can see here in this that the yellow represents all of the areas that are currently encroaching into the setbacks. The green would be the proposed encroachments into the setback. From a square footage perspective, right now there's a 157.12 square foot encroachment into the rear setback. That's this area here. The proposed rear encroachment for the new structure is 111 square feet, so we are reducing that encroachment. With respect to the side setback, the existing side yard encroachment of the existing structure is 426.96 square feet, so all of this along here. And the proposed side yard encroachment with the new building would be here, 134 square feet. Currently, if you look at this very closely, you can see that this is the only structure that's positioned along here into this area. The setbacks all along the waterfront are actually pushed back. Setback's the wrong word, but the principal structures and the accessory structures are all pushed back from the water. This house, built in 1925, was positioned further water side, and so you have more limited areas to expand and to build. So the request tonight is to reduce the required side yard setback from 7 feet to 9 inches, to reduce the required rear yard setback from 20 feet to 11 for demolition of the existing detached 2-story garage mother-in-law apartment, and to replace it with the construction of a 1-story garage and outdoor kitchen area in a similar location. We're replacing the garage to perform in a more functional configuration, which will allow for the retention of the character of the property as historically developed. I know that you obviously need to see how this meets the hardship criteria, so First of all, the property was developed in 1925 and has remained as originally constructed for almost 100 years. The proposed modifications will result in an improved structural separation from the adjacent property to the northeast, and it will retain the historical orientation and character of the property. The new structure will create an enhanced view corridor of the water for both the neighbor to the north by replacing the two-story structure with a single-story structure. It also will improve the property conditions along the shared property line by updating the single-story structure, updating with a single-story structure and a new masonry wall. Currently, only one structure along Blanca Avenue waterfront is at the setback. This is this house. And so the removal of this structure will result in a setback that is compatible with the current development pattern along the waterfront, as we previously showed with the visual. Davis Islands, as you know, is designated as an urban village within the city's central planning area and neighborhood element of the comprehensive plan. Granting this variance is consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies contained in the comprehensive plan. In addition, the variance will support and maintain the character of the existing single-family residential area and allow for improvement of view corridors to the waterfront for both the adjacent property owners and the surrounding residents. By placing the new structure as far away from the water as possible, the applicant is serving the public benefit by reducing the impact to the surrounding neighbors' view corridor of the water. Just very briefly, you can see the design from the water side. And you can see the size and the scale, again, going from 2 stories to a 1-story structure to increase the view corridor for the neighbors. Before I conclude, I just want to read a couple of sentences from Derek Alvarez's letter of support. He's actually a property owner directly to the north that's the most impacted by the existing accessory structure. He says, please accept this letter in support of the variance request at 202 Blanca to demolish the existing 2-story accessory structure and construct the single-story structure as proposed. We are in support of the request as listed in the application. We are the neighbor immediately adjacent to the property to the north, and we are the most directly impacted by this proposal. We believe this will improve the structural separation between our properties, and we fully support the removal of the existing 2-story structure. I'm unavailable to attend this hearing this evening, but I feel strongly as the direct neighbor that my input on this request be favorably considered by the board. So in conclusion, the project is consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies contained in the comprehensive plan. The proposed new construction, which is in similar and a more functional configuration, number 1, retains the character of the property as historically developed. Number 2, it removes the only structure at this setback along the waterfront, which will now be consistent with the existing rhythms of the structures along the waterway. And finally, improves the view corridors to the waterfront for adjacent property owners and surrounding residents. I appreciate your time tonight. We are available to answer any questions. The property owner, Jeffrey Hills, is in attendance if you have specific questions for him as well. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Is there anybody in the audience that wishes to speak on this case? No? Are there board questions? Seeing none. Is there any need for a rebuttal? You have 3 minutes.
No, but I did send the presentation in. It sounds like you already have a copy of the letter of support. I do have extra copies if you need them for the record. Okay. Thank you. No,
Yeah,
no
we all
need
got
for rebuttal, sir.
We all got a copy. All right, well then without objection, I'll close the public hearing and open it for motion. Anybody? Maybe on the right side.
I'll make a motion.
Ms. Walker?
I move that the variance request for case VRB 20-43 for the property located at 202 Blanca Avenue be granted as depicted on the site plan presented at the public hearing for a reduction in the north yard setback from 7 feet to 9 inches and a reduction in the rear yard setback from 20 feet to 11 feet with encroachments for eaves and gutters based on the applicant's presenting competent and substantial evidence in the record and at this public hearing of an unnecessary hardship or practical difficulty when considering the 5 hardship criteria set forth in section 27-80 of the city code, specifically that the variance will not substantially interfere with the health, safety, and welfare of others, and more specifically will increase the water view of the adjacent neighbors and will more fully conform with the neighborhood plan and the Tampa comprehensive plan. Additionally, the property is pie-shaped and as such presents practical difficulties that are unique to this specific property.
A second.
Second by Ms. Long. And Ms. Walker.
Sam Walker, aye.
Susan.
Commissioner Long, how would you like to vote?
I can't understand.
How would you like to vote?
Oh, we've already, aye.
Lynn Hurtak, aye.
Dustin Pastor, aye.
Brett Feldman, aye.
David Farrell, aye.
All right, your motion's been approved, 6-0.
Thank you very much. Have a nice evening.
You too. For the final case of the evening, VRB 2044, located at 5002 Fowler Avenue. I assume that's you guys? All right. Then, Ms. Curry. Let's get this one going.
Roberta Mead Curry, Planning, Design, and Development Coordination. Case number VRB 20-44. The address is 5002 Fowler Avenue. The applicant is seeking relief from section 27-284 to remove a 36-inch grand oak tree. Applicant is seeking to build a new bank with a drive-through lane. Property is zoned CG, Commercial General, and the Hillsborough County Property Appraiser information is included in your record. The application also is in conjunction with a special use 2, case number special use 220-04, which was heard for second reading on July 16th, 2020, and was approved unanimously from City Council, but I do not have the signed off ordinance from the Mayor's office at this time. Right-of-way has found it consistent. Natural Resources has found it consistent with conditions. Transportation has found it consistent, and zoning has found no applicable, not applicable, because it is a tree case. This is that agenda item from the City Council's office. Natural Resources Report, page 1. Page 2. Site plan. Properties Appraisers page, page 1. And again, you'll see the former use was a restaurant, but it is, that building is now being demolished, if not already, and turning into a bank. Again, existing photos. This is looking from the property. Looking east down Fowler Avenue. Looking west. Looking back down 50th to the corner. Looking into the property and seeing some of the trees in question. and looking down 50th. What you had included in your packet was the requirement for them to come up with various configurations to show how the trees may not be preserved. So this is the plan that I believe they went through forward with the special use 2 application. This was alternative plan number 1. Alternative plan number 2. All right. Alternative plan number 3. Again, Natural Resources is here if you have any questions of them regarding the alternative plans or any questions you have regarding the trees. The applicant has noticed properly. And I have no other information for the record.
Okay, thank you. Petitioner, please state your name, address, and if you've been sworn.
My name is Steve Boggs, Steve Boggs, 607 South Alexander Street, Plant City, Florida, and I have been sworn.
All right, you've got 10 minutes to present your case.
As was stated, we are trying to build a bank on the former Perkins site, which is located at the corner of Fowler and 50th Street. And it is in conjunction with a strip plaza owned by, not strip plaza, but a commercial plaza owned by the same entity. And so we do have a restriction on there where we have a common driveway on the eastern side of our site, which if you look at our plan that is proposed, the plan that's proposed through the SU2 process is right through here. This is where the common driveway is. It serves both the commercial over to the east side and our proposed site. We did go through a significant process on the existing trees through this process with SU2, and we were required to save 50% of the existing trees that were rated good. There were 13 trees rated good, so we had to require to save 7 of them. We came back and saved 8. So we worked in an extra tree into that whole process. 36-inch oak tree is sitting right here. What we did in an effort to try to provide alternatives was move it outside of the 20-foot circle that they require. It does a couple things that we are not comfortable with. It backs up our queuing into the existing drive aisle, which limits some of the access through there. It also makes this movement around the tree as you circumvent the site somewhat difficult. That was on the first one where we brought the building just directly to the east. We also took it to the east and moved it to the north. Same process. We got a problem on the drive aisle, and the motion here gets worse. I guess if I go back to the first one, the motion coming out of the closest commercial lane is a difficult movement to try to get around that tree, as you would believe that. Third alternative was to do the same thing, and it has basically blocked it by moving it forward. We looked at the possibility of moving the building further to the north, which would be further than this one, based on the front of the existing commercial units to the east. We would push it further. Even if I moved it all the way back here, I'd have to go to where the building front would be almost to the back of the other buildings to get past that tree to allow us to have the queue link we need on the right-hand side. This site is in a, I'll call it a hole, if you will. The pavement section there is probably 2 to 3 feet below the elevation of Fowler Street, and it slopes off to the north by 8 feet. So we're asking that we be allowed to remove this tree in order to keep a safe vehicular use environment across this site. We cannot move our drive, the drive aisle location on the canopy as it is set up to be for security of the building. It's our prototype building. There's a lot of security that's inside that floor. Where it's at, it's set right across from the entrance of the building. And with that, I will stand aside for any questions.
All right, thank you. Is there anybody in the audience that wishes to speak on this application? Please state your name, address, and if you've been sworn.
Chris Robertson, 129 South Kentucky Avenue, Lakeland, Florida. I've been sworn. I'm Senior Vice President of Operations at Employee Credit Union. We're very interested in achieving this project. It is a growth strategy for us, for the area, to obtain the growth that we have with our current members, and also partner with USF, the Temple Terrace area, as far as the density for the growth potential for us as well. We do currently have a small branch and a closet basically at the James Haley VA Hospital, which we are going to be closing and moving staff here, hiring additional staff. And like our site engineer stated, it is a prototype building that allows us to have business banker, mortgage lenders as well, and the location as well to serve the members and the community of Tampa in that area. Appreciate your time. We're also doing enhanced landscaping too on the project that is on that corner across from Mosey and all that. So there is extra money that we're putting into to cover the loss of this, but keeping what we can and improving the corner to make it look pristine. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Seeing as nobody else here, let's open it up for questions. Yep.
Trees and colors. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Kamaria Pettis-Mackel from the City Attorney's Office. So, Madam Commissioner, the request that's on the agenda is to remove A36, A grand tree. No, one single tree, one tree. That's what's on the application.
One grand tree, but other trees, smaller ones. Am I correct?
Yes, you are correct. Again, based on the arborist report, there were 13 trees that ranked good or better for the site. Out of those trees, we were required to retain 50%. That has been 7. We kept 8. There's some other smaller trees that were in a less quality condition that have been removed, and I'd have to count to tell you how many there are. But we've already worked a preliminary landscape plan out with staff at this point, and that will be part of our engineering site submittal that will be fully reviewed at that point in time.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. Thank you.
Are there any other board questions? None. You've got 3 minutes for rebuttal if you'd like.
I'm good.
All right. Then we will close the public hearing and open it up for a motion or board discussion.
I'll make a motion.
All right, thank you.
I move that the variance request for case VRB 20-44 for property located at 5002 Fowler Avenue be granted as depicted on the site plan presented at the public hearing for removal of a grand tree based on the petitioner meeting the burden of proof with regard to the 6 factors for determining tree removal as set forth in section 27-284.2.5 F4 of the city code for granting tree removal. Specifically, that the evidence provided in the record showed that the applicant attempted to relocate the building, was unable to do so in a manner that would allow it to save the grand tree, or in a manner that would allow it to not remove any grand trees on the property. There are no other reduction in setbacks or other variances that are necessary to approve this request, and for that reason, I move that we approve.
Second. Seconded by Mr. Farrell. And Ms. Walker, a vote, please.
Sam Walker, aye.
Susan Long, aye.
Lynn Hurtak, aye.
Dustin Pastor, aye.
Brett Feldman, aye.
David Farrell, aye.
All right, your motion's been approved, 6-0. Is there any other business that staff needs to address? Seeing none, then we will close this hearing. Thank you, everybody.
It's only 8:30. How did we do that?